Need economics made easy and clear. Every topic your exam is near. AQA Economics explained. Get the grade you want to gain. 1 point at a time. Welcome back to AQA Economics Explained. We're glad to have you back.
Welcome back to another video from AQA Economics Explained. In this video, we're going to answer a classic explain using a diagram question, exactly the way AQA examiners want to see it. This is one of the most common question types in the exam, and it's also where students often lose easy marks because their diagram and explanation don't quite line up. The question we're answering is, using a supply and demand diagram, explain the effect of an increase in consumer income on the market for new cars. Before we start, just to be clear, in the real exam, you don't need colours at all. Everything would be in black pen or pencil. I'm only using colour here so you can clearly see what's happening as the diagram develops. If you understand this version, you can absolutely recreate it in the exam. Now stay with me on this, because this is one of those diagrams that comes up again and again in AQA Economics, and getting it right can pick up you a lot of easy marks. Before I draw anything, I think about the economics. Income is increasing, the product is new cars, and cars are a normal good. That tells me demand will increase, and it also tells me straight away that this will be a shift of the demand curve, not a movement along it. And that single point is where loads of students lose marks. So with that being said, let's start drawing the diagram exactly as we would in the exam. I draw my axes first, with price on the vertical axis and quantity on the horizontal axis. I keep it simple and clear. Then I draw the original demand curve sloping downwards and label it D1. After that, I add the supply curve, sloping upwards, and label it S. At this point, I've got a standard supply and demand diagram showing the market before anything changes. I then mark the point where demand and supply meet. This is the original equilibrium. From that point, I drop a vertical line down to the quantity axis and label it Q1, and I draw a horizontal line across to the price axis and label it P1. While I'm doing this on the diagram, I start writing my answer. I write, an increase in consumer income will lead to an increase in demand for new cars because cars are a normal good. That sentence immediately shows the examiner that I understand why demand is changing. Now I show the effect of higher income on the diagram. Income is a non-price determinant of demand, so I don't move along the original demand curve. Instead, I draw a new demand curve to the right of D1 and label it D2. As I draw it, I continue writing. This is shown on the diagram by a rightward shift of the demand curve from D1 to D2, as higher income increases consumers' willingness and ability to buy new cars at every price. The key thing here is that the diagram and the writing are saying exactly the same thing. Next, I need to explain what happens at the original price. I haven't changed anything in the diagram yet. At P1, the new demand curve shows that quantity demanded is now greater than quantity supplied. This creates excess demand in the market. I make sure I actually use that phrase in my answer, because examiners like it. So what I write is, at the original price P1, demand exceeds supply, creating excess demand in the market. Now I want to pause here and explain something properly, because this is where a lot of confusion comes from when we say the words, this creates excess demand. In the real exam, you do not need to draw this extra quantity or label it, and I actually wouldn't recommend doing so because it can confuse both you and the examiner. I'm only showing this here so you genuinely understand what excess demand means, rather than just memorizing a phrase. Look carefully at the diagram. Originally, demand D1 and supply S intersected at P1 and Q1, so quantity demanded equaled quantity supplied, and the market was in equilibrium. After income rises, demand shifts to D2, but price has not changed yet. It is still P1. If we freeze the price at P1 and look across horizontally, we can now see that the quantity demanded on the new demand curve D2 is higher than before. On the diagram, that higher quantity is shown here as Q3. Meanwhile, quantity supplied at P1 is still Q1, because supply has not changed. This gap between Q3, which is quantity demanded, and Q1, which is quantity supplied, is what we mean by excess demand. Consumers want to buy more than firms are willing to supply at that price. That's it. Excess demand is not a new equilibrium. It's not a stable outcome, and it doesn't last. It's simply a temporary imbalance caused by the demand curve shifting, while price is still stuck at its old level. And this is exactly why, in the exam, we usually explain excess demand in words, rather than by adding extra labels like Q3. Instead of drawing it, we say, at the original price P1, quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, creating excess demand. That sentence tells the examiner everything they need to know without risking confusion. The excess demand then puts upward pressure on price. Price rises, quantity demanded falls, quantity supplied rises, and the market moves to the new equilibrium where excess demand disappears. So when you hear or write, creates excess demand, what it really means is this. At the old price, buyers want more than sellers are offering. That temporary gap is what drives the price mechanism and pushes the market towards the new equilibrium. Once price is adjusted, excess demand is gone. So going back to our actual diagram finally, I explain how the market moves to the new equilibrium. So let's show that now. Are you ready? Here we go. Because there is excess demand, firms respond by raising prices. As price rises, there is a movement along the supply curve, not a shift of supply. This continues until demand and supply are equal again. On the diagram, this is shown by the new intersection between D2 and S in green, with a higher price and a higher quantity traded. As I mark this on the diagram, I finish the written explanation by saying, this excess demand puts upward pressure on price, leading to a movement along the supply curve, and the market settles at a new equilibrium with a higher price and a higher quantity. So our final answer is, an increase in consumer income will lead to an increase in demand for new cars, because cars are a normal good. This is shown on the diagram by a rightward shift of the demand curve from D1 to D2. As higher income increases consumers' willingness and ability to purchase new cars at every price. At the original price P1, demand now exceeds supply, creating excess demand in the market. This excess demand puts upward pressure on price, causing a movement along the supply curve as firms respond by increasing the quantity supplied. The market eventually reaches a new equilibrium at a higher price P2 and a higher quantity Q2, where demand and supply are once again equal. When you look at the finished answer, the diagram and the explanation match perfectly. You can see the original equilibrium, the rightward shift of demand, the excess demand at the original price, and the new equilibrium at a higher price and quantity. That's exactly what AQA examiners want to see. If you can reproduce this calmly in the exam, you're doing exactly what a top mark answer looks like. Now, the really good thing about learning this diagram through this question is that it doesn't just help you answer this one example. It actually unlocks a whole range of other exam questions as well. There are loads of questions in AQA Economics where you would use the exact same supply and demand diagram and the exact same chain of reasoning that we've just practiced here. For example, if the question was about an increase in real wages and the market for restaurant meals, that's question number 1 on the screen, the logic is identical. Higher real wages increase, disposable income, restaurant meals are a normal good, demand shifts to the right, excess demand is created at the original price, and the market moves to a new equilibrium with a higher price and higher quantity. If instead the question focused on rising employment and the market for air travel, question 2, again, nothing changes in terms of technique. Rising employment means more people earning income. Air travel is a normal good. demand increases. Excess demand occurs at the original price, and price rises until a new equilibrium is reached. The same applies for the other 3 questions. So in all of these cases, you're not learning 5 new diagrams. You're using one diagram again and again. The structure never changes. Identify the change. Explain why demand increases. Shift the demand curve to the right. Explain excess demand at the original price. And then explain how the price mechanism restores equilibrium. If you want, have a go at answering 1 or 2 of these questions yourself using that exact structure. We'll probably make some videos in the future walking you through each of these individually, step by step, just like we've done here, so stay tuned for that. But for now, practice it yourself and let us know in the comments how you're getting on. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.